My name is Frank, and what I'm about to tell you happened in the fall of 1998, deep in the mountains of West Virginia. I was 17, cocky, and thought I knew everything about these woods. My family had lived in Appalachia for 5 generations, and my grandfather used to tell me stories about things that lived in the hollows, things that weren't quite human anymore. I never believed him. Not until that October night when I came face to face with something that still haunts my dreams. It started when my friend Derek and I decided to go night hunting. We'd done it 100 times before, but this time, Derek wanted to go deeper, past Cutter's Hollow, where even the old-timers refused to set foot after dark. There were stories about that place, people going missing, strange lights, sounds that didn't belong to any animal we knew. "Come on, man," Derek had said, loading his rifle. "You scared of some hillbilly ghost stories?" I should have listened to that voice in my head, the one that sounded exactly like my grandfather. We started hiking around sunset, our flashlights cutting through the dense fog that always seemed to cling to these mountains. The air smelled different the deeper we went, like wet earth and something else, something rotting. The usual forest sounds, crickets, owls, the rustling of small animals, all of it just stopped. That should have been our first warning. We'd been walking for maybe 2 hours when Derek stopped dead in his tracks. His flashlight was pointed at something ahead, and I could see his hand shaking. "Mark," he whispered, "do you see that?" About 50 yards ahead, standing perfectly still between 2 massive oak trees, was a figure. At first, I thought it was just another hunter, but something was wrong. The way it stood, too rigid, too still, and it was tall, way too tall. "Hey," Derek called out. "You all right?" The figure didn't move, didn't respond. We started walking toward it, and that's when I noticed the smell got stronger. That rotting smell. And there was something else, a sound, like wet breathing, raspy and hollow. As we got closer, my flashlight beam finally caught the thing's face, and my blood turned to ice. It looked human, sort of, but the proportions were all wrong. The arms hung down past its knees. The face was stretched, like someone had grabbed it from both sides and pulled. And the eyes, God, the eyes were just black pits, empty and endless. But the worst part? It was smiling. This wide, impossible smile that split its face nearly in half. "Run," I whispered to Derek. "Run." We turned and bolted back the way we came, but the forest had changed. The path we'd followed was gone. Everything looked the same, trees, fog, darkness. We could hear it behind us, not running, walking, but somehow keeping pace, those wet, rasping breaths getting closer. Derek tripped over a root and went down hard. I grabbed him, pulled him up, and that's when I heard it speak. "Boys," it said, in a voice like gravel scraping concrete. "Boys shouldn't be in these woods. Boys get lost. Boys get changed." We ran harder, branches whipping our faces, lungs burning. I didn't dare look back. The breathing was right behind us now, so close I could feel cold air on my neck. Then suddenly, we burst out onto a logging road. Derek's truck was there somehow, even though we'd parked miles away. We didn't question it. We jumped in, and Derek floored it. As we sped away, I finally looked back. The thing was standing in the middle of the road, watching us leave. But here's what makes my skin crawl to this day. I saw Derek standing next to it. I turned to look at the driver's seat, and Derek was still there, white-knuckled on the steering wheel. But he was also back there, in the road, standing next to that hollow man. Both of them, smiling. "Derek," I said carefully, What happened when you fell?" He didn't answer for a long time, just kept driving, eyes fixed straight ahead. When he finally spoke, his voice was different. "Hollow. I got up, Mark. You helped me up. Remember? but I didn't remember helping him up. I remember grabbing at him, but my hand passing through something cold, and then he was just standing, already running. That was 26 years ago. Derek and I don't talk anymore. Haven't since that night. He moved away, out west somewhere, and I heard through mutual friends that he's not quite right. Keeps to himself. Doesn't like to be touched. Sometimes, late at night, I wonder if I really brought Derek out of those woods, because the Derek I knew loved these mountains, would never have left. And sometimes, when I'm alone in the dark, I hear that wet, rasping breath, and a voice that sounds like gravel whispering, "Boys get changed." I still live in Appalachia, but I never go past Cutter's Hollow, and I never go into the woods after dark. My name is Emily Chun, and I'm a geology graduate student. In the summer of 2019, I joined a research team studying cave formations in eastern Kentucky. I'm from California, had never been to Appalachia before. The locals tried to warn us about certain caves, about following the rules. We were scientists. We thought we knew better. We were so wrong. Our team consisted of 5 people. Dr. Hammond, our lead researcher, myself, 2 other grad students, Jake and Priya, and our guide, a local man named Cyrus who'd been caving these mountains for 40 years. The cave system we were studying was called Harrow's Deep. According to Cyrus, it had another name that the old folks used, the Screaming Cave. He told us that people heard things down there. Voices, screams. He said some caves in these mountains were alive in ways we couldn't understand. Dr. Hammond laughed it off. Acoustic anomalies, he said. Wind patterns creating auditory illusions. Cyrus just looked at him with those weathered eyes and said, "You don't name a place Screaming Cave over wind patterns, son." We entered the cave system around noon. The entrance was a jagged tear in the mountainside, like the earth had been ripped open. The temperature dropped immediately, and our lights carved thin circles in the absolute darkness. The first hour was routine. Beautiful formations, stalactites, flowstone, crystal pools. Priya was taking samples. Jake was mapping. I was photographing everything for documentation. Then we heard the first scream. It echoed from somewhere deep in the cave system. High-pitched, terrified, and completely human. It lasted maybe 5 seconds, then cut off abruptly. We all froze. What the hell was that? Jake's voice was shaking. Cyrus's face had gone pale in the lamplight. We need to leave. Now. But Dr. Hammond was already moving toward the sound. It could be someone in trouble. We have to check. No. Cyrus grabbed his arm. That's how it gets you. That's how it always gets you. You follow the screams, and you don't come back. Dr. Hammond pulled free. I'm not abandoning someone who might need help. Emily, Jake, Priya with me. Cyrus, if you're too superstitious, wait here. I should have stayed with Cyrus, but I followed Dr. Hammond deeper into the cave. The screams came again. Closer now. Multiple voices, overlapping, all shrieking in terror and agony. But here's the thing. They never got any closer, no matter how far we walked. They always sounded like they were just ahead, around the next bend. We walked for what felt like hours. Our cave map became useless. The passages Cyrus had marked didn't match what we were seeing. The formations started looking wrong too. Stalactites that curved at impossible angles. Symbols scratched into the walls that were definitely not natural. We're lost. Priya finally said what we were all thinking. That's when I noticed something that made my stomach drop. Our shadows. There were too many of them. Each of us should have cast one shadow from our headlamps. But there were 6 shadows, sometimes 7, moving slightly out of sync with our movements. Where's Dr. Hammond? Jake asked suddenly. We spun around. Dr. Hammond was gone. Just gone. He'd been right behind us, and now there was nothing but darkness and the endless screaming. "Hammond," we called out. Our voices echoed strangely, coming back wrong, distorted. Then we heard him scream, that same terrified, agonized scream we'd been following, and we realized we'd been following ourselves the whole time. "Run," I shouted, back the way we came. We ran blindly through the passages, the screams following us, multiplying. I heard Dr. Hammond's voice, Priya's voice, my own voice, all screaming from the darkness behind us. Our extra shadows stretched ahead, racing us to the exit. Jake fell behind. I heard him call out, and then his scream joined the others. Priya grabbed my hand, and we kept running. Then I felt her hand go cold, ice cold. I looked over, and Priya's face was blank, empty eyes, slack jaw. But she was still running, still holding my hand. I screamed and pulled away, and that's when I saw them. Dozens of figures standing in the shadows just beyond our lights. All of them wearing the faces of my team. All of them screaming silently. I don't remember how I found the exit. One moment I was surrounded by those things, and the next I was stumbling out into blinding daylight alone. Cyrus was there, looking ancient and sad. "How many?" he asked quietly. "All of them," I sobbed. "They're all still down there." He just nodded. "It usually takes everyone." The authorities searched the cave for 3 days. They found nothing. No bodies. No equipment. No sign that my team had ever existed except for me and our entry permits. But here's what keeps me awake at night. 6 months later, I got an email from Priya. Just 2 words. Still screaming. I left Kentucky that day and never went back. I quit geology. I can't be in the dark anymore without hearing those screams. And sometimes, late at night, I'll get texts from Dr. Hammond's number, Jake's number, Priya's number. They never say anything. They're just screaming. The locals were right. Some caves in Appalachia aren't meant to be explored. They're not empty spaces in the earth. They're mouths, and they're always hungry. My name is Thomas, and I grew up in a small town in the mountains of North Carolina. Population 147. The kind of place where everyone knows everyone, and outsiders are noticed immediately. In the summer of 2015, when I was 23, something came to our town. Something that sang in a voice sweeter than honey and darker than the deepest hollow. By the time we realized what it was, 12 people were already gone. It started with old man Garrett. He lived alone on the edge of town, and one morning, he just walked off into the woods. Didn't pack anything. Didn't tell anyone. Just left his door open and disappeared. The search party found him 3 days later, standing waist-deep in Blackwater Creek, staring at nothing. When they pulled him out, he kept mumbling about the singing woman and how beautiful her voice was. How he had to find her, had to be with her. They brought him home, but that night, he walked off again. This time, they never found him. Then Mrs. Henderson went missing. Then the Cook brothers. Then young Sarah Beth from the general store. People started hearing it about a week after Garrett disappeared. A woman's voice, singing wordless melodies that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. It was different for everyone. My mama said it sounded like lullabies from her childhood. My friend Jesse said it sounded like love songs in a language he didn't know, but somehow understood. The town council called a meeting at the church. That's when Esther Yates stood up. Esther was 93, born and raised in these mountains, and sharp as a tack. "It's a singing woman," she said, and the room went quiet. Happened once before, back in 1957, in the next county over. Whole town of people just walked into the woods and never came back. 200 souls gone in a month. That's just a story, someone said. No. Esther's voice was hard. It's a warning. The singing woman appears when there's been a disturbance, when something's been dug up or destroyed that should have been left alone. You boys done any mining lately? Any logging in the old growth? The room erupted in denials, but I saw my father's face go pale. He ran the small logging operation on the North Ridge. He'd been clearing a new section for the past month. That night, I confronted my dad. What did you find up there? He was drinking whiskey, something he only did when he was scared. There was a tree, he finally said. Biggest oak you ever seen, dead center of the ridge. Had to be 400 years old. We tried to cut around it, but it was right in the middle of our plot. So we cut it down. And there was something inside it, a hollow in the trunk, and inside, he took a long drink. Inside was a skeleton, small like a woman's, but the bones were wrong, too many joints, fingers too long, and wrapped around it was human hair, yards of it, braided with bones and teeth. What did you do with it? We buried it all, burned the tree, thought we were being respectful. That night, I heard her for the first time. I was lying in bed when the most beautiful voice I'd ever heard drifted through my window. It sang of loneliness and longing, of the deep places in the earth where secrets sleep. It promised understanding, acceptance, love. I found myself standing at my bedroom window, my hand on the latch, ready to open it, ready to follow that voice. Then I saw them, dozens of people from our town, walking through the streets in their night clothes, all heading toward the woods, all with the same blank, blissful expression on their faces. My mother was among them. Mama! I screamed, but she didn't respond. None of them did. They just kept walking, like sleepwalkers in a dream. I ran downstairs and grabbed her, tried to pull her back, but she was strong, impossibly strong. She turned to look at me, and her eyes were black, completely black. She's so beautiful, Tommy, my mother whispered. Can't you hear her? She's calling us home. I ran to Esther Yates's house and pounded on her door. She opened it, took one look at my face, and nodded. You need to stop it, she said. You need to give her what she wants. What does she want? To rest, to be properly buried. Your father disturbed her grave. Now she's calling a new family, a new tribe. She'll take everyone in this town if you don't make it right. Esther gave me instructions. I had to find where my father had buried the remains, dig them up, and rebury them in a specific way, facing east, with offerings of silver and salt, with prayers and words so old they hurt my throat to speak. I raced to the logging site, the singing growing louder with every step. By the time I found the disturbed earth, dawn was breaking, and I could see a figure standing in the clearing ahead. She was tall and impossibly thin, with hair that flowed to the ground and seemed to move on its own. Her face was beautiful and terrible, too perfect, too symmetrical, with eyes that held the darkness of centuries. Give them back, I shouted, digging frantically. I'm making this right. Just give them back. She smiled, and when she spoke, her voice was the singing and something else, something ancient and hungry. They came willingly, boy. They heard my song and chose to answer. Can you truly say they were happy in their little lives? I offer them eternity in the deep places. I offer them peace. I found the bones and began the ritual Esther had taught me. Silver coins on the eyes, salt in the mouth, words of binding and release. The singing woman screamed, a sound like trees splitting and earth cracking. But she didn't stop me, couldn't stop me. The ritual was old magic, older than her, and she had to obey. As I finished the final words and lowered the bones into their new grave, facing east as Esther instructed, the singing woman began to fade. But before she disappeared completely, She looked at me with those ancient eyes. You save your town, boy. But I'm not the only one in these mountains. And the others? They don't forgive disturbances so easily. She vanished with the dawn, and the people she'd called, those who were still alive, came stumbling out of the woods, confused, exhausted, but alive. We lost 17 people total. They found the bodies deep in the woods, arranged in a circle around a dead oak tree, all of them smiling. That was 8 years ago. I still live in these mountains, but we don't log the old growth anymore. We don't disturb what's been here longer than we have, because sometimes, late at night, I still hear singing. Different voices now, different songs. And I know the singing woman was right. She wasn't the only one. The mountains of Appalachia are older than we can imagine, and some things that sleep here should never be awakened. I just hope we never forget that again. My name is Rachel, and I moved to Appalachia from Philadelphia in the fall of 2021. I'd bought a house sight unseen, a foreclosure in rural Virginia, dirt cheap, with 10 acres of mountain land. My friends thought I was crazy. Turns out they were right, but not for the reasons they thought. The house was cheap because something was very, very wrong with it, and by the time I figured out what, it was too late to leave. The house was a small farmhouse, built in the 1920s according to the listing. It needed work, but the bones were good. That's what the inspector said. Good bones. He didn't mention the other thing. The thing nobody wanted to talk about. I moved in on a Friday in October. The neighbors, and I use that term loosely since the nearest house was 3 miles away, were friendly but weird. They brought casseroles and pies, but they all asked the same question. You planning on staying long? Strange question, right? I just bought it, I'd say. This is my home now. They'd get this look. Sad, pitying, like they knew something I didn't. The first strange thing happened my first night there. I was unpacking boxes in the living room when I heard footsteps upstairs. Heavy, deliberate footsteps, walking from one end of the hall to the other. I froze. I lived alone. There was no one else in the house. I grabbed a hammer from my toolbox and crept upstairs. Every door was exactly as I'd left it closed. I checked every room. Nothing. No one. But when I went back downstairs, all my unpacked boxes had been moved. They were now arranged in a neat line against the wall, organized by room label. I told myself I was tired, stressed from the move, that I'd arranged them and forgotten. But I knew, deep down, I knew that wasn't true. Over the next week, things got weirder. I'd wake up to find the furniture rearranged. Not drastically, just slightly off from where I'd placed it. A chair turned a few degrees. The couch pushed back from the wall. Pictures framed straightened. It was like someone was tidying up after me. Then the noises started. Not just footsteps. Humming. A woman's voice. Humming old songs I didn't recognize. It would come from different rooms, moving through the house like someone doing chores. I should have left. But here's the thing. I'd spent my entire savings on this house. I had nowhere else to go. And honestly, part me was curious. This was my first home, and I wasn't going to be scared out of it by some haunting. I wish I'd been scared. Fear might have saved me. I went to see my nearest neighbor, Mrs. Halstead. She was in her 70s, had lived here all her life. The humming, I said, and the moving things. What's happening in my house? Mrs. Halstead's face went pale. You're hearing her? Who? Caroline. She was the original owner. Died in 1956, but she never left. Mrs. Halstead explained that Caroline had been a woman obsessed with her home. It was her pride and joy. She lived alone, never married, devoted her entire life to keeping that house perfect. When she died of a heart attack in the kitchen, they say her last words were, "Keep it clean." Every family that's bought the house has left, Mrs. Halstead told me. Caroline doesn't like changes, doesn't like mess, doesn't like sharing. So what do I do? Mrs. Halstead looked at me sadly. Keep the house the way she likes it. Don't paint. Don't renovate. Don't make it yours. Make it hers. I tried to follow the rules. I really did. But it was my house, damn it. I'd bought it. And I wasn't going to live like a guest in my own home. So I started renovating. I painted the living room, tore up the old wallpaper in the bedroom, planned to gut the kitchen. That's when things turned violent. The first night after I painted, I woke up choking. My pillow was pressed over my face, held down by invisible hands. I fought and thrashed, finally throwing it off, gasping for air. Written on my bedroom wall in what looked like ash, "Put it back." The next day, I came home to find every door and window in the house open, despite me locking everything. My furniture was thrown around like a hurricane had hit, and in the kitchen, every dish I owned was smashed on the floor. Standing in the doorway to the kitchen was a figure, translucent but visible. A woman in a floral dress from the 1950s, gray hair in a tight bun, face twisted in rage. "Caroline, this is my house." I screamed at her. "I paid for it. You're dead. You don't get to control it anymore." The temperature dropped so fast I could see my breath. Caroline moved toward me, and I swear I could hear her voice, whispering in my ear. My house, my home, mine, forever. Objects started flying. Picture frames, books, the coffee maker, all hurling themselves at me. I ran for the door, but it slammed shut. The windows locked themselves. I was trapped. Caroline's ghost was everywhere and nowhere. I felt cold hands shoving me, scratching me, pulling my hair. The house itself seemed alive, malevolent. Walls creaking, floors tilting, like the building was trying to digest me. I fell to my knees in the center of the living room, bleeding from a cut on my forehead where a book had struck me. "Fine," I sobbed. "It's yours. It's your house. I'll leave." The violence stopped immediately. Caroline's ghost appeared in front of me, clearer than before. She was smiling, satisfied. "Good," she whispered. "Good girl." I packed what I could carry and left that night. Drove to a motel in the next town and tried to figure out my next move. I'd lost everything. The house, my savings, my dream of a new life. But here's the thing that keeps me awake at night. 2 weeks after I left, I got a call from a real estate agent. The house had sold, already, to a young couple from Ohio. "But I didn't list it," I said. "According to our records, you did. Last week. Sale went through yesterday." I never listed that house. I still technically own it. Or I should. I tried to call the couple, warn them, but I couldn't find any contact information. It's like they didn't exist. Last month, I drove back there, just to see. The house looked perfect, immaculate, like something out of a magazine from the 1950s. And in the window, I saw her, Caroline, but she wasn't alone anymore. She was standing with 2 other figures, translucent, trapped, a young couple, holding hands, with expressions of absolute despair. I realized then what the house really was. Not just Caroline's home. It was her collection. Every person who bought the house and refused to leave became part of it, part of her eternal family. I got lucky. I left before she could complete whatever it is she does to keep people there. But those real estate calls keep coming. Different agents, different buyers, all interested in my house. The house that keeps selling itself, keeps luring new people in. And I wonder how many ghosts are standing in Caroline's windows now. How many people who thought they were buying a dream and found a nightmare instead. I live in an apartment now. Rent. I'll never own a home again. Because in Appalachia, Some houses don't want owners. They want prisoners.